Stugotz here for Casper. We've all heard of Casper, the sleep company with outrageously comfortable products at not so outrageous prices. From award-winning mattresses to pillow sheets and duvets, Casper is transforming the way we sleep one snooze at a time. And with their current end-of-season clearance, you can save up to 20% on the mattress of your dreams. The Casper mattress is an award-winning balance of comfort and support. 4 layers of premium foam are designed to provide pressure relief for all-night comfort. Keep your back aligned with zone support, designed to provide extra support. Listen, I have a Casper mattress. I have 3 of them, as a matter of fact, and I am telling you, my back, which used to hurt, has never felt better. I mean, I love these mattresses. From bedding, bed frames, and even a dog bed, Casper has everything you need to complete your dream bedroom. And as always, free shipping and free returns. Save up to 20% on mattresses now through March 23rd, 2020. Offer expires March 23rd, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Save 10% off the essentials and 20% off the Casper and the Wave. Limit 1 offer per customer and order. Additional shipping fees apply for Hawaii, Alaska. Please see Casper.com/terms for additional terms and conditions. The Dan Le Batard with Stugotz Show podcast is presented by Capital One. This is Banking Reimagined.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Quoting home insurance just got easier with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. Quote and buy all online at Progressive.com. Do it today. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The PGA Tour has canceled the Players' Championship plus the next 3 tournaments. UEFA has suspended Champions League and Europa League. The English Premier League has been suspended until at least early April. U.S. Soccer President Carlos Cordero has stepped down as the Federation and the U.S. women's team battle over equal play. Meanwhile, both the men's and women's team have had their friendlies canceled.
Equal pay or equal play? Same?
Equal pay. Did I say play? I meant pay. And finally, butterflies will feast on your blood and tears if given the chance.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Did you know butterflies will feast on your blood and tears?
Wendy's has breakfast now. We're talking fresh cracked eggs on every breakfast sandwich. Yep, it's going to be America's favorite breakfast. Download the Wendy's app for deals on your new favorite breakfast. Yep, for this, see you at Wendy's in the morning, available at participating U.S. Wendy's. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
We were marveling earlier. What's up, Stugotz?
I just can't say the word. You guys can laugh at me.
I thought you said it fine there.
Okay. Wow. Great.
So Ariel Helwani, we were marveling earlier at the fact that it seems like business as usual in mixed martial arts. Ariel Helwani, kind enough to join us here. Thank you for joining us. Can you explain to me in what ways it's not business as usual? Because it seems like you guys have got a fight on Saturday, and as you just heard Stugotz say, everything's postponed. But not you guys. You guys keep going straight ahead, no problem.
Yes, MMA. We forge on, guys. Thank you for having me again. Can I just say something? It's really weird that we're talking about this. I can't stop thinking of you guys because I actually first heard about the coronavirus in your studio. I remember when we were talking about the boxing fight that got canceled and Bob Arum called it a cockamamie disease. You remember that like a little over a month ago?
Yep.
That's when I first heard about it, and now look at our lives. It's horrible. I hope everyone's doing well over there. Yes, the UFC is powering on. They have an event tomorrow afternoon in Brasilia, Brazil, but they are closing it to the public. Coincidentally, we just found out that the headliner was in jeopardy for a moment because Kevin Lee, who's fighting in the main event, a great fighter, missed weight, but now they're saying that the fight is going to proceed and he's going to have to give up some of his purse money to his opponent, Charles Oliveira. But then there's an event next weekend in London, and Dana White said last night on SportsCenter that that event is proceeding without any changes, which I feel like is going to change in the coming days because they just canceled all the Premier League games, and he's saying that like fans will be able to attend. And then they have 2 other events in Columbus and Portland, and they announced that those events are moving to Las Vegas, and they'll be held in a very small, closed-in arena with no public allowed to attend.
But help me out here. The Brazilian president just tested positive, and I can't think of a lot of worse places for old people with breathing issues than casinos in Las Vegas. What are we doing?
Well, the UFC Apex is what they call it, is a building that they built. Like, it's on their UFC headquarters campus, so it's not in a casino. But Dan, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't agree with you. There's a litany. I mean, almost every major sporting league has postponed play. And there's a Bellator event. Bellator is owned by Viacom. They're the second biggest MMA promotion on the planet. They're holding an event tonight at Mohegan Sun, closed off to the public, and UFC holding an event tomorrow. Somehow MMA is immune to all of this. I don't know how. And you would think off the top of your head, we're talking about, a viral disease. We're talking about sweating on people.
But here's the thing, Ariel, you're not actually immune to this is the thing. Are you going to these events? Like you say, somehow MMA is immune to this, but you're not. I don't care. There is anything.
I'm being somewhat facetious when I say that, obviously. You would think MMA would be the first one to go, right? Like PGA would be the last. MMA would be the first. But somehow listen, I've heard from a lot of fighters privately who... Okay, one second. I've heard from a lot of fighters. Sorry, my kids are at home from school, so you can see it's total chaos here. Yep. I've heard from fighters privately who have said, like, I don't feel very comfortable, but what am I supposed to do? I only get paid if I fight, so I'm not going to campaign to have fights canceled. This is not the NBA or the NFL. So they're in a really tough spot. A lot of these fighters are very defiant as well. They're true alpha males, and they're like, screw it, we'll get it done. But there's a trickle-down effect, right? Like when they train, they have to be in close quarters. These gyms, I don't know if you've ever been in them, they're not exactly the cleanest places in the world.
Awful. So, how do you but you, I defer to your knowledge in this sport on almost everything. You're telling me you don't know how it is that MMA is able to continue to plug on as everything else in sports gets canceled? The answer is I don't know.
Well, I don't think I said I don't know. I mean, Dana White came out and said it. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. I mean, as of right this moment, Dan, there's an event in London at the O2 Arena next Saturday. Huge event. And he said last night, 8 hours ago on SportsCenter, that event is proceeding as planned, meaning fans are allowed to attend. But yet every other sporting event in Europe is postponed, including the Premier League. I don't know. He's very close with the president and the vice president. He mentioned that he spoke to them on the phone yesterday, some way, somehow, in the midst of all this. They seem to be, very confident that this is okay for them. I'm shocked. I truly am. I didn't think this would be the case. And so we continue. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Are you going to be going to these events?
I went to an event last weekend in Las Vegas. The next event that I'm actually scheduled to cover in person is April 18th in Brooklyn. Remember on Monday when I spoke to you guys, I talked about Khabib and Ferguson, which is one of, I would say, top 5 most anticipated events ever in the history of the UFC. And everyone was like, how's this one going to get canceled? Because it's been canceled 4 times before for very weird reasons. And they have not told us about the status of that event. I would be surprised if it, proceeds as planned. A lot can happen in a month or so, but that's the next one that I'm supposed to attend in person.
This is a bit of a reckless question by me. Ariel Helwani with us on ESPN Radio. But is Ferguson, between those two fighters, who's more mentally stable?
I don't know if I could answer that one properly. I would say that Tony Ferguson is a very quirky/unique character who a lot of people love because of that. I mean, he showed up to the press conference. It was phenomenal stuff. He showed up to the press conference dressed as a hitman, as he put it, wearing gloves and holding a baseball. And someone asked him, why are you holding a baseball? And he said, in case they run. And so I guess that means like he would knock him on the side of the head with the baseball or something, or at least throw it. And then Khabib has, his own sort of uniqueness as well. I'm trying to dance around this one. It's very uncomfortable.
Well, there have been things with Ferguson where it's not unreasonable to say, hey, look, he's a little off.
Actually, he's had some mental health issues and some pretty serious ones. There was an incident, a domestic violence allegation that never really, it didn't become too serious because his wife was able to cooperate, but there were some really scary details that were released in a police report. So, but look, Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov, for as quirky as they are, and can we just be honest for a second, MMA fighters on the whole are kind of quirky dudes. I mean, the fact that they do what they do for a living, I don't possess a DNA in my body that would allow me to even fathom walking into a cage and fight another man pretty much stripped of everything. They're a little quirky. Tony's probably at the top of the list, but I think that's part of his endearing quality. That's why we love him so much.
I want to make clear to the audience, by the way, I am not making light of the Ferguson mental health issues, but it is one of the reasons that he's so scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, also because he's really good. I mean, we knew about the mental health issues last year, but he's just a different kind of cat. I mean, there's a great sort of ongoing meme, if you want to call it that, online of Tony Ferguson is the kind of guy who does X, Y, and Z. I just read one yesterday. Tony Ferguson is the kind of guy who has cars looking both ways when he crosses the street. Like, he's just a different kind of cat, and people really enjoy his uniqueness.
In case they run. That's why he's holding the baseball.
That's funny. Ariel, help me out with something, because I'm growing my hair out. Mike Ryan is making me grow my hair out. It's very long right now. It's annoying. He wants me to grow it long enough so I can have cornrows the next time I walk Masvidal in the ring into the octagon. When and who is Masvidal going to fight? Like, when and who is he going to fight? I need to know now.
Okay, so the original plan was July 11th in Las Vegas, but now they want to have Conor McGregor fight on that card, so they're not going to put a big title fight on the same card as a Conor McGregor fight. Why? Because Conor commands so much money, and when you fight for a belt, you get a piece of the pay-per-view, and they don't want to split that pie with other people. So probably what's going to happen, there's an event in August, early August. I would suspect right now the front runner for that event would be that fight. And he would fight Kamaru Usman for the belt, so it would be his first ever shot at a UFC title after 17 years in the game. It would be amazing. I hope they kind of get this going soon, because I don't know about you guys, I feel like he's lost a little momentum here. His last fight was in November. We need to get him back in there, so hopefully it's that August event.
Yes or no question before we let you out of here. Ariel Helwani with us on ESPN Radio. You should check out all his MMA coverage. He has a fantastic podcast where you will get super informed. You think, yes or no question, you think that we're going to continue along the path where MMA is uninterrupted?
Oh, my. Yes, because they seem to be strangely defiant about all of this.
You
seem very angry.
Not strangely defiant. I think it's like
most predictable thing ever.
Predictably defiant. Ariel Helwani's MMA show. You can check it out via podcast. Thank you, sir, for making the time.
Thank you, guys.
Dan Le Batard.
I don't know anything.
Stugotz.
I don't remember what I was going to talk about. So in those instances, what I have is a default that just makes fun of Stugotz.
You're welcome.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
If you missed any of our interviews, check them out on demand in the Dan Le Batard Show podcast, brought to you by Capital One. With Capital One, you can open a new checking or savings account with no fees or minimums. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Approval required. Capital One, N.A., member FDIC. Dan, it is time for Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless.
Frank Martin will join us in 15 minutes. We'll talk to the South Carolina coach, our friend, the South Carolina coach, about everything happening in his sport. Steve O will join us at 12:30 Eastern.
Steve O, you said that like walking. Steve O.
Wow.
Steve O will join us at 12:30 Eastern, but something that will not be derailed under any circumstances by the coronavirus. I feel like it's something that will be here every single day, even if MMA goes down, even if the combat sports go down, even if golf goes down, if everything goes down, this will still be here for you.
Here's a story of a man named Brady who's a fan of playing with deflated balls. He may be just as old as your grandfather, but his forehead's smooth. Here's a story of a ham named Stugotz who just makes his sports takes up as he goes. No consistency or repercussions to the lament of Dan. Till the one day when the show was starved for content and they knew they were under a ratings crunch. That's how most our bits come to fruition. That's the way we all began the Brady Hunch. The Brady Hunch. The Brady Hunch. That's the way we began the Brady Hunch.
All right, welcome to today's episode of the Brady Hunch. On yesterday's episode, I had Tom Brady returning to the Patriots. Yeah. But I have learned some things since then. Here is what I have learned.
Wait, what? How's this go? You go first? Or
I think I go first, and then I go around the room to you guys. That's the way Mike told me to do it the first time. I did it the exact opposite way.
Robot?
Which way do you want to do it?
I mean, whatever, man.
All right. Well, listen. Yesterday I had them going to the Patriots, Tom Brady. But I have learned some things since then. And here's what I've learned. A WEI report from Dale Arnold.
Wow.
You guys know Dale?
No, first time I'm hearing that name.
Arnold.
Belichick and Brady had a call. That did not go very well.
Oh, I heard that.
That was like 10 days ago.
Yeah.
Well, listen, okay? This is the Brady Hunch.
Always listen.
Always listening, Stugotz. You don't have to tell us to listen. We're the ones who listen. You're the one who doesn't.
So a bad phone call where the report was Belichick told Brady he could only offer him 1 year for less than what he was making last year. That is a dangerous game of poker. Belichick is playing with Tom Brady.
Is it a game of poker or chicken?
It's a game of poker, a dangerous game. Russian roulette, perhaps.
Which is it? Is it chicken, poker, or Russian roulette?
I like
Those
to
are
call
three
it-
very different games.
It is. Russian roulette, perhaps a bit too much. That's where you have the gun, the bullet,
Yes.
the chamber.
Not strong
Yeah, we
pointed
understand
straight
what
at your
that is.
head.
Strong enough.
Thank you.
What is stronger than Russian roulette? Because poker is the most benign of these. Chicken is the next step up, but I feel like Russian roulette is a rush to the extremes. I don't feel like we're going to get a lot worse than Russian roulette.
I combine all of this with the news from our own Diana Rossini, who says Tom Brady has two demands. Two.
What?
Control over the roster. And decision over play calling.
Okay.
So I
know he's playing
combine,
quarterback?
I mean, that's, according to Diana, those are his demands.
Maybe he wants to be a coach.
Take your time with this, Stugotz.
I combine this game of dangerous game of poker, Russian roulette.
With chicken.
And I look for the coach, the place that will allow him to have control over the roster and the play calling. And that is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Wait.
What? Really?
That's where I have him going.
You think John Gruden's going to give him play calling?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes. I absolutely, and control over the roster, which means Antonio Brown is going back to the Raiders.
Only
That's a
one
little
man
Brown
knows
hunch.
Spider do why banana.
Wow.
Anyone else got a hunch?
Oh, I got a hunch. I did some digging here, guys. Guys, where'd Brady go to college?
Michigan.
Guess who else is from Michigan?
Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
Oh, wow.
I'm feeling the pack.
Wait a minute, what?
He's from Michigan? He's from there. Good.
But why? They've
job
got,
to you.
they've got a younger, old quarterback.
Right.
Better.
Injury prone sometimes, Dan. Two-headed monster. This season will get
It's
derailed
one of the
by
worst
injury.
hunches I've ever
Can you
heard.
imagine
Oh, my
trying to
God.
prepare for Rodgers or Brady in the first half and the other in the second half?
Oh, you got
my
him
God.
being a backup. Very good.
I'm just splitting hands.
Billy, what's your hunch?
Yesterday I was thinking it was the Tennessee Titans, but today, Dan, I'm feeling the 49ers.
Wow.
I'm going to just keep saying 49ers. How about you, Roy?
Because of his production company, I believe that he's going to Los Angeles with the Chargers.
Wow. Chargers. Interesting.
How about you, Mike? Do you have a Brady hunch?
Where did Tom Brady and Giselle get married?
I don't know. Where?
You tell us.
In Santa Monica.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So I also think Los Angeles, but not the Chargers.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
The
whoa, whoa.
Rams.
What about Goff? What about Goff? Oh, my God. What about Goff?
What a hunch.
What about golf?
What about Goff?
Dominoes.
They've got a lot of
Dano.
money tied up in golf.
Yeah, well,
Dynamos.
Again with the two-headed monster. How about this, though? I feel, lest you, the American audience, think that what we just gave you in terms of information was almost fundamentally useless. I bring you the University of Miami's Chief of Staff, Hall of Fame safety, Ed Reed, who agrees with Stugotz when he writes on Twitter, hashtag Raider Nation, Brady, I'm just saying.
Wow.
You gotta be
Thank
kidding.
you. Guess his hunch is as good as any.
I'm just saying, says Ed Reed, hashtag Raider Nation, Brady.
Dangerous game of chicken roulette.
And
That's the way
we began the Brady Hunch. Ba-dum-dum.
Dan Lebatard,
I mean, they used to call me Chris Karaoke.
Stugotz,
That back row is bringing it today.
This is the Dan Lebatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Frank Martin going to join us in just a second. Here's your SportsCenter update. The PGA Tour has canceled the Players' Championship plus the next 3 tournaments. UEFA has suspended Champions League and Europa League. The English Premier League has been suspended until at least early April.
You can add Bundesliga in Germany to that list. They just canceled their games.
Okay, you just did that. U.S. Soccer President Carlos Cordero has stepped down as the Federation and the U.S. women's team battle over equal pay. Meanwhile, both the men's and women's team have had their friendlies canceled. And finally, 1995's Outbreak, starring Dustin Hoffman, has surged into Netflix's top 10. I noticed that. I was trying to find something to watch last night. I saw it there. Front and center. Outbreak.
You'll find Outbreak before you'll talk to your kids and wife.
Yeah. Sports Center brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. Think ahead, think advance. At any time, 1 of 4 batteries is about to fail. Get a free battery test and free installation with any automotive battery purchase only at Advance Auto Parts. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
So Tony Perez, his entire Hall of Fame baseball life, never bothered to correct anybody that his name wasn't Tony Perez. It was Tony Perez. And when he went into the Hall of Fame, he went in as Tony. I'm not sure whether Frank Martin is Frank Martin or Francisco Jose Martin.
Oh, what a great name.
I just want to ask him, thank you as always, Frank, for making time for our show, but is your name Frank Martin or is it Francisco Jose Martin?
Just like Atanasio Perez, it's Francisco Jose Martin.
Okay.
That's the prop.
Nobody's called you that.
Yeah. No, but that's how I sign every piece of paper that I sign. Anything I sign Francisco J. Martin. Dan, I get named the head coach at Kansas State, and I got a speaking deal to on campus to Hispanic leaders and Hispanic students from the state of Kansas. So I get up, they introduce me, I get up to speak, and my opening statement was in Spanish. Even the people I worked for were floored. They had no idea. So it's
your name's Frank.
Just one of them deals.
His name's not Frank.
No, I know, but people call him Frank. Of course they'd be shocked by that.
The people who know you best, they'll call you Francisco.
Yeah, Franquito. That's what my mom and my grandma called me.
Have you had any more luck finding Cuban food in South Carolina than you had at Kansas State?
Nah, we got a Cuban joint about 40 minutes away from my house that I kind of packed the family into a car and I go visit. It's called Little Havana and Little Piece of Havana, excuse me. Their food's actually pretty good.
Can you tell us what you think that people should be doing when it comes, like things you've heard in terms of interesting theories, giving kids more eligibility? Everything that's happening is so fluid right now with your sport. What are some of the best healing solutions that you've heard in terms of what should happen going forward?
Well, Stu's not going to like this one, but we got to get teachers raises. He gets mad at me all the time because I want to get teachers raises.
Frank, I told you my mom was a teacher. I'm good with that.
We do have to get teachers raises.
By the way, I'm like bored for the next 3 weeks. Can I come hang out with you guys? We can get everybody a raise around the country.
Oh, please.
Yes, come on. Let's come down. Well, I don't think people aren't going to be traveling very much. I don't know whether they should be traveling to Miami either, but if you're traveling, you should come in here through the studio and spend some time with us.
Just drive down. Forget Little Piece of Havana. Come see actual Little Havana.
Oh, boy. No, Dan, let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to articulate.
You struggled to like that. Is that you got a stumbling start there.
It's an unknown. It's like we're dealing with an unknown, and it's when you're dealing with unknowns, no one has the right answer. What I believe is everyone needs to take a step back in the NCAA and take a deep breath and realize that some folks' careers, student athletes, that is, were ended prematurely, whether they were in the conference tournaments or they were baseball players or track athletes, whatever. And we've got to figure out a way to maybe give those seniors the opportunity of competing one more time. And I know there's conversations about that right now. Will that happen or not? I don't know, but I think that's the most unique thing that's out there, making exceptions. So, for example, we have 13 scholarships. We got 2 seniors. We signed 2 players. Well, next year, allow us to live with 15 scholarships and give those 2 seniors the opportunity, if they choose to come back and compete one more time.
Frank, it's easier said than done, because I'm certain you have a class of freshmen who are coming in, and maybe perhaps some of them are expecting playing time that they might not get. I agree with the premise, but I think all of it is easier said than done.
Yeah, and absolutely, Stu, and I think that's something that we all would have to manage individually, and then those freshmen, they want to be here. Come on, and if they don't, then we should be able to release them, and then they can pick whatever school they want to go to.
You're asking for more freedom there that the NCAA is usually willing to give, because they don't trust coaches to act purely and generously. They believe that coaches are going to game the system to their advantage. And while you might be totally altruistic about trying to get your seniors the right ending, I can see others looking at it and saying, well, what about the competitive advantage of having too many scholarships?
Yeah, no, it's, women's basketball has 15 scholarships. We got 13, and it's a Title IX issue. So which I think needs to be revisited, because we have such a transfer. I don't call it a problem. I'm not sure what the word is. Some people call it problem. I don't think I was a transfer. I said in this country, divorce is perfectly legal. I don't understand what the problem with a transfer is. We treat transfers like it's wrong. It's part of it. But I think a one-time exception to allow all of us. So if you had 3 seniors, then you sign 3 players, then you should be able to keep 16 players on your roster instead of 13. I think that's something that we should all be allowed to manage individually. But give those seniors the opportunity, if they choose, to be able to come back.
Is there anyone else that you point to? Frank Martin with us, the South Carolina coach. I should say Francisco Jose Martin with us on ESPN Radio. Beyond the seniors, is there anyone out there that you ache for the most? And we understand this is a pandemic. Sports is minor compared to everything that's happening here. But when you think of time lost, seasons lost, or this season being lost, anyone your heart breaks for more than even those seniors?
Well, 2 people. One I work with every day, and Dawn Staley. They're the number 1 team in the country, and I see we're extremely close as staffs, and we're friends, and I see how hard they work and where they were at, and to know what was in front of them, the opportunity to be the overall number 1 seed, and all of a sudden they don't get the opportunity to do that. And then the other one, Dan, who's my boyhood friend, he's a brother, he's my son's godfather, and Anthony Grant. He's back home at Dayton, and I think they're number 2 in the country. And to know the journey Anthony's been on, when his time at Alabama was over, all the talking heads were talking, well, now Alabama can hire a better coach. Well, it's the journey we live. We sign up for the jobs. So we kind of got to deal with the criticisms when they come, but to see him now end up back at his alma mater and have him number 2 in the country and not be able to finish this off to go compete for that championship, those 2 people right away breaks my heart for both of them, because I know what they're about.
Frank, there's an opportunity for you here to take on a new cause, champion a new cause. Pay the arena employees.
Oh, yes.
It's all yours, Frank.
Instead of pay the teachers, or on top of pay the teachers, pay the arena employees.
I'm all in. I'm all in, because I know how hard those folks work. It's and we should try and figure out a way to come up with something. It's my sister and brother-in-law. They're small business owners in New York, and they're in the restaurant business. And it's it's folks that depend on that day-to-day job to live. We got to figure out a way to help them. I don't mean to be the ultimate humanitarian, But it's the right thing to do, because those folks that work these arenas, they're welcoming, for the most part. They're welcoming to the fans, to the people, to everybody, right. And they depend on those jobs, and we got to figure that one out.
I've been told, I have been told by others that you are a pretty good prankster, and I've been told that you tricked one of your coaches one time into thinking that you were selling your home next door to his to someone that he didn't like. What can you tell me about that story? And for how long did you keep that one up? Because what is the backstory there?
Oh my God! You guys get all the information. It's we at Kansas, when we were in Kansas, we lived in a brand new development, and it was my strength coach, my home, my director of operations, and my associate head coach. It was us four lived on like next door to each other. And when we moved to a different part of town, I'm not going to get into specifics because I don't want to. I don't want to get in trouble.
You don't want to name the person he doesn't like. You don't want to name that person. I understand.
It's this politically correct world that we used to laugh about stuff back in the day. Now we all get in trouble for stuff. But we told our strength coach that certain people were moving into that I sold my house to a certain person. And he lost his mind, and we had him all worked up the whole time. And the new neighbor pulled into the driveway, and he was in his driveway. He's our strength coach. He's a big old muscled up, bald-headed guy. He was as rude as he could possibly be from day one, and then eventually we had to let him in that it was all a prank and a lie. And then he and his wife had to go next door and apologize, and it was pretty good.
I have to imagine that Francisco is more romantic than Frank.
Both are romantic. He's a softie with his wife, but who is more romantic, Frank or Francisco?
It's got to be Francisco.
Oh, it's Francisco. It's not even. Frank was the bouncer. Francisco's the guy that got lucky and got married and stays married. Hey, talking about that, I can't believe you guys open a club. I'm the ultimate ID checker, and you guys don't invite me to open the club.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Geez.
Well, wait a minute. We open
Frank
the club.
wants to be a part of the show, Dan.
Frank, call back in an hour. We're going to open the club in an hour. You open up the club as a former bouncer. We'll open up the club in an hour with you. Okay. That wasn't a yes.
No, just a laugh.
I'll do whatever you guys need me to do.
All right.
1 hour.
We'll call you back in 1 hour. 1 hour from now, we're going to call you.
That'll work.
All right.
Dan Le Batard.
Texture writes in helpfully, hey, Dan, your eyebrows are shaved up so high you need to tan under them. Don't you realize there's nothing you can do to be handsome?
Stugotz.
It's a bit unfair because you happen to be, I'm serious about this, you happen to be a good-looking guy. You're not good-looking on TV, but in person, you're a good-looking guy.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
As FS1 shuts down, as ESPN, understandably, with many networks, as an sports-obsessed place, try to figure out what to do during this difficult time, as Miami's mayor goes down positive for the coronavirus, Chris has a solution. There's very little out there for you. It's MMA. It's boxing. There's a Mexican soccer league that's still playing, but there's not very much available to you. I asked you guys this question because I thought Chris brought up a good point here. He was talking about the idea of esports, having a lane right here, right now. I feel like ESPN and Disney should get out there and start negotiating with esports to see if we can televise stuff.
This is their time. The people with Twitch, all these streaming services, this is their moment. And will they take advantage of it? I don't know the answer, but they should.
Dan, if you miss the competitive nature of basketball players taking to a court and deciding who's better, Devin Booker has you covered. Because Devin Booker is playing out. I know what you're saying. Man, I wish I could watch the Phoenix Suns. Well, Devin Booker is making it possible because he is taking to Twitch and playing out the entire Suns schedule as it happens.
All right.
Suns, Mavs, you get to watch it,
Nice.
find out who comes on top.
Does he do the thing where, like, if his team's losing, he just turns it off at the last second? Like, we're going to watch Devin Booker have an undefeated season.
Can't embarrass yourself in front of Twitch, man. It's a big no-no in the community.
They should people should start, it's probably heavily illegal, but, someone should start taking bets on these Twitch games, get the gambling back.
The heavily illegal part is...
I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying, people should do it.
Anything is possible with these new apps. Yeah, here's $50 for groceries. Milk carton. Here's napkins. Chandelier.
Do you guys think if we put together as a show, we played Augusta weekend, we actually played the Masters 4 rounds and allowed people to bet on it? Do you think we can? And do you think people would bet on it? And we play for a green jacket. I'm trying to give people some sports, man.
I don't understand, Stugotz. You've been talking about this for about 3 hours, and
good idea.
But you want
you get Jim Nantz involved.
You want a green jacket. You want more attention. You want a trophy. The part that is problematic is execution. You never actually golf with anyone around here while telling everyone around here, hey, golfing this weekend? You want to golf this weekend?
I played a couple of rounds with Mike. Again, he hit the greatest golf shot I've ever seen.
Chris, how many times has Stugotz invited you to golf and it not happened?
He's invited me hundreds of times. We played once.
Right. That's because you're too lazy to drive up. That's on you. It's not on me.
Wow.
Yeah. You're welcome to come up today if you'd like. Billy, Roy, Tony, Mike, anyone is welcome to come up to my house today. Play a little golf. No one's in?
We don't need your fake invitations. Because one time...
just drive up to the house?
No. Because I remember years ago, you had this same arrangement with Charlie where it wasn't just, hey, if you want to come up, it was, hey, come up and meet me here.
Yeah.
And then I was getting updates for like 2 hours.
You were hiding from Charlie.
Exactly. You gave him the wrong golf course, and then you told him I'll be there in 5 minutes.
He played alone.
Yeah,
he played alone.
He went out there and played alone.
He played alone at another course, is what happened. He came up to my course. He was on the driving range. He was hitting 350-yard drives straight as an arrow. The kid's amazing, okay? But there was a tournament that I was unaware of at my course that day. And so I told Charlie he had to go down the street to another golf course.
Whatever. He played
and I'd
alone.
meet him there, and I never met him.
Okay, there you go. Speaking of Charlie, I believe that we have something else for the Stuttering Pantheon here. Right now, there are two that are bigger than better than most. There's Billy trying to talk about Charlie and never spitting something out.
Well, Charlie had this, Charlie, as far as I know, so just Charlie's title in my
Are you going to say anything?
Well,
so that's pretty bad. But
I was right there.
I was terrible one time trying to talk to the guy who plays Chewbacca, the new guy. And how familiar were you at the time with Chewbacca? Like how your upbringing had how much Chewbacca in it? Now I ask you guys. You guys tell me. Frank Martin, Francisco Martin, who was just on with us. I believe he goes in the Pantheon. Yes or no? Does this go in the Stuttering Pantheon?
No, Dan, it's let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to articulate.
You struggled. You struggled to like that. No, Mike. No. Let me hear it again.
Not even close.
No,
Really?
it doesn't go in the Pantheon.
No, Dan, it's let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to articulate.
You struggled. Mike, that's pretty close.
You benefit from him joining the Pantheon, Chewbacca.
We inform you next.